It's one of the biggest events of the entire season on the PBA Tour. Welcome inside the lanes at Coffee Creek in Owasso, Oklahoma. I'm Lucas Wiseman alongside six-time PBA champion Dom Barrett. We're getting ready for the action here, our Stepladder finals. You're going to see a lot of familiar faces. All 5 players on today's finals were on the Bear Open just 2 nights ago. We open up with Kris Prather making his 3rd consecutive show, taking on Stu Williams. We then move on in the Stepladder to Tackett at the number 3 seed, Richie Teece at number 2, and the guy who I would say is probably the front runner for Player of the Year right now, Andrew Anderson, in the number 1 seed. We've got lots of Player of the Year impact to talk about. However, the big drama here today is the fact that we're bowling on 2 different lane conditions. The wolf pattern on one lane, the bear pattern on the other. And Dom, you just finished bowling. How tough is this challenge for these guys?
It's very tough. We had 3 rounds of match play, so we have 3 different times where we had to come back, and every time was a little bit different. You would have one lane 1 minute, and then you'd find the other lane and lose one. So it happens a lot where you obviously physically you're trying to do 2 completely different things, but also trying to repeat and trying to find the right ball on the right lane, getting to the right frame, and yeah, it's very tough out there, as you can see.
Dom, you just got done watching the players practice quite a bit. Do you have any feel of who might have the edge here this afternoon?
Well, so usually, like you say, we just bowl on one pattern, so you get an idea of how it's going to transition, and you know by the time Andrew comes along, it's going to be quite broken down. But the fact you have 2 different lane oils on both of the lanes makes it a big challenge. So it's going to see how it breaks down, how much push is there going to be on the wolf pattern, how much transition is going to happen on bear on the left lane, how much is it going to burn up, how much angle is Stu going to use at the beginning, are they going to be urethane on the shorter pattern? There's a lot of things happening that we're going to talk about over the next couple of hours.
Yeah, a lot going on here. We'll dissect it all in just a couple of minutes, but we're going to go down to Kirk Von Kruger with the introductions here in just a moment.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the FloBowling PBA Tulsa Open Stepladder Finals. It's my pleasure to introduce our 5 players in today's competition. Our number 5 seed is looking for his first PBA Tour title. He's making his 3rd consecutive top 5 appearance. From Plainfield, Illinois, please welcome Kris Prather. He's facing our number 4 seed. He won the 2012 PBA Viper Open. He has international titles in 9 countries. He finished 2nd in the FloBowling PBA Bear Championship. He's looking for that 2nd career title. From England, a beef stew, Stuart Williams. The winner of this first match will go on to face our number 3 seed. He has 12 titles in all, including the PBA World Championship. He's the 12 and 13 PBA Rookie of the Year, the 2016 PBA Player of the Year. He won our PBA Bear Championship the day before yesterday from Huntington, Indiana, E.J. Tackett. Our number 2 seed captured the 2017 PBA Shark Open. He has his 2nd top 5 appearance this week. He is from England. Give it up for Richie Teece. Our number 1 seed only has to win 1 game today to take home the 2018 PBA Tulsa Open title and a check for $30,000. He captured the 2018 USBC Masters. He too is making his 3rd consecutive top 5 appearance. 2 titles in all from Holly, Michigan. Our number 1 seed, Andrew Anderson. These are your 5 players for the 2018 PBA Tulsa Open Championship. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Stuart Williams was the higher seed. He's elected to let Kris Prather begin the match. Bowlers.
All right, it's the 3rd consecutive stepladder finals that we have seen Kris Prather on FloBowling here, and the last two have been a little bit of a emotional roller coaster for Prather as he starts with a strike, and we'll get into that a little bit more as we get into this match. But we now head over to Stu Williams, who will get his game kicked off. Of course, you've longtime friend of Stu Williams, being both from England. You see the stepladder bracket there, so we'll work our way up throughout this afternoon. But Dom, you know Stu quite well. He was in really good position yesterday morning, had a really bad block yesterday afternoon, but he managed to fight back this morning and make it into the show.
Yeah, he did. Like I said, I'm very good friends with Stu. We sort of came out on tour around the same time. He was actually a bit ahead of me. Won our first titles on the same day as well, so that was pretty cool in the World Series about 7 years ago. But yeah, as you say, yesterday that was our first, or as we sort of got through the tournament, we get to the match play rounds, we get to the dual pattern. It actually becomes very difficult. You always seem to finish the 10th frame on the pattern you're comfortable with. You don't get to bowl on the try too much on the pattern you might be struggling on. And as everyone knows who bowls, if you can only feel comfortable for half the game, you're never going to get any doubles. You're going to leave a lot of splits, and you can't really make up for it. So I had my own sort of problems with that until I bowled this morning. But yeah, kind of felt for Stu a little bit, and I heard I think it was a short lane Wolf that he lost, and then he had quite a few gutter balls and cost himself a lot of pins, but fought back well today. He didn't start off too well today, but fought back well the last few games, and as you can see, both guys have kind of showing us what they're about right now, what they want to do.
And yes, Stu, 279 the last game of match play to get into the number 4 seed. He was already in the top 5, but it just secured his position and moved him up. So big game for Stu to get him in here. And here's Kris Prather getting ready to go up in the second frame, and we're going to go down to Phil Brylow, lane side.
Yeah, you just mentioned, Dom, about the comfortable position bowlers want to be on with on the lane. The carry percentage for a top 5 on this championship pair all week long been right about 75% for all the players. Wolf pattern's actually been the easier pattern for players to get to the pocket on. The only player that had a higher percentage on getting to the pocket on Bear than Wolf, Stu Williams. So that's why Stu chose that left lane to finish on in the 10th frame this match.
All right, thank you, Phil. And you'll notice throughout the stepladder today that the players will be playing very far right on the Wolf pattern on the right lane, 33 feet, and then a little bit further left on the Bear pattern at 39 feet. So it's a tough mental challenge as we take a look at some of Kris Prather's stats here.
Yeah, and usually on this Bear pattern, the left lane, which was Kris Prather's bowling on right now, you can see you can get the ball started early. It's 39 feet, but it's actually a lot of oil on that lane as we do like to bowl on the PBA Tour. We have a lot of oil in the lane, and it does make it very tricky. As you said, though, Stu bowled fantastically well a few days ago on this pattern, and like I say, he's chosen to finish on this pattern. He feels very comfortable. But what I would point out right now is on the Wolf pattern, the right lane, the short lane, neither Kris or Stu have decided to use urethane, but I think we will be seeing quite a lot more urethane as the stepladder progresses.
And Stu Williams with a double here. He's down by 10. Stu, one of those guys, we talked about this 2 days ago, who you feel like he has more titles than he actually does. Only one PBA Tour title for Stu Williams, which I think a lot of people find surprising given he's been out here so long, and it feels like he's really due to win one of these things.
Yeah, I think so. I think he just had a very good tournament in Thailand just a few weeks back. Obviously, he finished second earlier this week on the Bear Open pattern, where he led by a decent amount from what was arguably the toughest squad. But I'd see already, I think Stu has found himself have a little bit of hold on that right lane, because neither one of those two shots that he threw, the one at 9 pin and then the one that struck, got to 1. I think that's the key for that pattern. When you actually get your ball to come in a little bit and it doesn't go through the face, because I know firsthand how sharp that pattern can be if you don't get your ball to blend out the right way. And that's why you can see a lot of urethane. Urethane wasn't always the easiest ball to pick this week because of the surface, and you usually have a lot of surface with urethane. Makes the ball pick up, makes the ball grab the lane, it comes off the pattern quite weak, and that forces you to use your hand a bit more, which changes more direction. So it is a very tricky pattern, Stu's decided to use a bigger ball. He's using the hypercell, and that's a slow response, very aggressive bowling ball that I know that Stu likes a lot for these types of conditions. And as you can see from Kris there, he got that one in a little bit. It came off pretty sharp, but it wasn't that bad, actually. I've seen a lot of people leave 5 pins in the Brooklyn from that same position this week.
Yeah, so Prather with the 9-pin leave here in the 4th. He now trails by a pin, and it's been a tough couple of days or a couple of step ladders for Kris Prather. So take a look at the Wolf Open pattern. This is the Wolf Open pattern, but this is the same pattern being used on the right lane, 33
right. You
feet.
can see right there that how flat it was in the middle. And that when we're talking about as well, when we're talking about 33 feet, that means there's 27 feet of back end, which means your ball is going to cross a lot of boards when it gets to the end of this pattern, which is the same reasons why the designers have given us a little bit of shape on the gutter. And that's pretty much the only place you can play. You can't play inside of 6. You see there? It's very flat from 6 to 6, from board 6 on the left to board 6 on the right. So you have to play near the gutter, and then it's about controlling your angle through the front part of the lane, which is going to help you control the back part of the lane.
So this is the 3rd time we've seen Prather, and the last time he was on our show, he lost in a roll-off to EJ Tackett on a tough leave leaving a 4-8 on the final shot. And now he's back again. He's still looking for his first PBA Tour title. He's had a good week this week, and I'm sure he'd love to get out of here with picking up a win and maybe having a little bit better luck in the Stepladder finals. In the first Stepladder, the Wolf Open, earlier this week, Andrew Anderson shot 297 at him. So he's looking for a little luck finally here in the Stepladder.
Kris has been bowling extremely well, arguably the best player this week so far, but it's a long ladder from this position.
So here's Stu working on 3 in a row, holding on to a 1-pin lead as we are approaching the halfway point of our opening match. That one gets a little right, but look at it roar back.
Now that's what I think Stu is intending to play with, but obviously when they get in a little bit as well, that frees your arm swing up a little, knowing that if you do get one in and you're nice to it, that you don't sort of grab at the bottom and you let the ball come off your hand the right way, it's going to give you that bit of hold. But this last one he just threw, he got it out just about right. He got it to, let's say, around 2 board. It's kind of hard to see there, but it's the way the ball mid-lanes rather than how much it hooks down lane or comes off the pattern. It's the mid-lane that we're looking to be smooth, looking for the ball to rev up, and then that controls that controlled motion down lane.
And Stu Williams with 5 in a row as he extends his lead here in this match, 5.5 frames in.
So we're bowling on they bowling
take a
on
look at the
19 and
replay.
20. So they were practicing down on 7 and 8, and 7 and 8 was the first pair we used this week, the first set of lanes that we used, and they were practicing there, and I know firsthand that pair hooks quite a lot more. So the guys were actually trying a few different things on 7 and 8, especially lane 7 for the bear because of how much it hooked, but it looks like they're pretty comfortable with the tighter lane of what they practice on. So now it's a bit tighter on the pair they're bowling on than what they just practice on. I think it's helping them control that mid lane and have a little bit of hold.
So Prather matches with a double. He was down 21 before that shot. He is now down by 11 as we are in the 7th frame. Both players have only missed once so far on this dual pattern challenge.
And it's nice to see both of these guys who've had a little bit of trouble so far this week in the Stepladder. They didn't particularly bowl as good as they wanted to. Both bowl a good game now, and that's nice to see.
So Prather looking to pull within a pin here if he can strike in the 7th. Winner of this match will take on EJ Tackett, who's the number 3 seed. Richie Teece is number 2, and Andrew Anderson number 1. As we have a packed Stepladder finals here for you today. The winner, $30,000.
Pretty good shot again.
And a blowout 7-pin there for Prather on a tough break. And he's had no shortage of tough breaks in the Stepladder finals here this week so far.
A great camera angle there. You can really see the ball rev up in the mid lane, go a little bit high in the pocket, but I'll be happy with that. Almost every shot I've ever thrown in my life. And that sort of harsh, wasn't really an over top 7, but that sort of high hit 7-pin that we just saw Kris leave there.
And Prather, a very good spare shooter, covers it up. And he continues to trail by 12 in this match. And Stu Williams has a chance to step up here 7th and 8th and extend his string of strikes and build on that lead. And here's a look at the bear pattern, 39 feet. And you can see the volume is quite a bit higher than it is on the wolf pattern, almost, 29.5 milliliters of oil, and it's a high difficulty pattern.
So this pattern used to be completely flat, the bear, but they've given us a little bit of shape, which has definitely helped with the scores a little, but it's also helped with a little bit of the transition that we don't get quite as much oil down lane to the right. So they used to just become impossible, but at least now when you hook it, there's a little bit of a play there. But it's not much ratio. It's still a very flat pattern, and it's all about controlling the back part of the lane.
I love these angles, these angles straight behind the lane, because it really gives you some insight into how differently they are playing each of the patterns. Stu, pretty far right. He's trying to go a little bit left to right, but he's really far right compared to what he's doing on the left lane here.
And
on the bear pattern.
When we see the guys come on the 3rd, 2nd, and 1st seed, they'll be playing a bit further right than what these guys are playing on that shorter pattern.
And Stu sends a messenger in front of the 10, and that will end his string of strikes at 6.
Yeah, I'm not sure he really liked that shot as well by looking at his reaction after he let go, but it was definitely close enough to strike. But he should be happy with that. Go up, make your spare, and then you're still looking good for the last 2 frames.
Yeah, 21-pin lead for Stu. You can tell he was hoping he would get the messenger to come across and hit it, but we've seen quite a few of those messengers in front of the 10 this week. And
yeah,
Stu
he's got that ball a little bit behind the headpin there. I think he looks like he shoved it through the mid lane slightly, but it's a very difficult lane pattern, even though these guys are doing a very good job on it at the moment. But I think we'll see as this pattern transitions, because these guys have actually started off quite far left on that bear pattern. So I know Stu likes to play it that way. The guys who are coming on the higher seeds, I'm not sure have quite hooked it this much, and I wasn't sure that Kris Prather was going to hook it quite as much as he is on that pattern as well. So the transition they're going to see on this pattern, on the bear pattern on the left lane, I'm not sure how friendly it's going to become.
Prather,
wiggle.
Yeah, Prather always does that little wiggle before he goes. That's his pre-shot routine. In a little bit of trouble here against Stu Williams. He's down 21, so that's a big shot, and a big shot coming up here in the 9th for Prather, as he will have a chance to cut the deficit to 11.
Yeah, I think
max score for Prather is 258, and Stu Williams can still shoot 269. So Stu's still in the driver's seat here, no matter what Prather does, but Prather hoping if he strikes here that Stu will give him a chance.
Yeah, that was a very nice shot there from Kris. I think he got it a little bit further right than he expected, but because it come off his hand so nicely, like every shot he throws does. Just picked up in the lane the right way, gave him that little bit of room down lane, and the ball came back high flush.
So a pretty high scoring opening match here on our dual patterns, Wolf and Bear, and this is a critical shot. This is the most critical shot of the entire match so far. 9th frame for Kris Prather, working on a strike.
Not quite off his hand there.
Almost crosses all the way over Brooklyn and leaves a 3-pin, and that is not a great shot for Prather in that situation, and he looks disappointed.
No, and that one you could see, as soon as you get it coming off your hand a little bit to the left on this pattern, there's no hold. There's no hold at all. The best bowler on this pattern, in my opinion, on Bear, has been EJ Tackett over the years. EJ Tackett and Jason Belmonte, and they create the most hook out of all the other guys, and just proves there's no hold on that pattern whatsoever, but you can create a little bit of hook. I think that's what Stu's doing with his angle, and unfortunately for Kris, the one mistake you can't make is miss left. Head in his hands. I'm not sure, he's bowled a great game so far. I wouldn't let that one shot dishearten you too much. You might get a chance from Stu. No, he has had the odd gutter ball. I don't want to talk about it too much for my friend up there, but
well, Stu really just needs to stay clean here with count in the last 2 frames, and he'll be in pretty good shape.
There was 160 gutter balls at least, probably around, we might have got to 200 on this pattern, so hopefully make sure this doesn't do it.
And Stu through the face leaves a 4-6 split in the 9th frame, and that is a disaster frame in the 9th for Stu Williams.
A little score correction needs to happen on that scoreboard as well. It's not quite right with the count. I think the one's important there for Stu. I think that might give him. Let's have a look at that and add it up properly.
Yeah, Stu at 216 in the 9th.
That's all right.
So his max is 246, and Kris Prather can strike out for 238. So Stu will need a double and a few pins and count for the shutout.
So this is a pattern that Stu has felt comfortable on so far this week, but arguably the harder lane of the two, the tougher lane. So let's see what Stu can do.
Again, Williams needs a double for the shutout. Big breath there. Here we go. And the 7-pin stays up.
Oh, good shot.
So Kris Prather is going to have a chance to deliver in the 10th to steal this game.
Yeah, he stayed down on that one. He got it right. I think he did everything he wanted to.
Stu can shoot 236. Prather can shoot 238.
Big spare coming up.
Gets it done. Now a fill ball coming up. There is some level of importance on this fill ball in terms of count.
Yeah, I think Stu feels pretty good in this lane. I don't see him getting anything less than 9. Don't throw it too hard and make sure you get it going to the right a little.
If Stu strikes here, it would force Prather to go double 9
And Prather's
to win.
His last 2 strikes in the right lane have struck.
Stu taking his time
Two
here.
shots, not strikes. I mean,
You assume Stu's taking his time. He's bowling against a guy who's never won a title, who's had a little bit of bad luck, and so, you know, Stu taking his time, making Prather think about it a little bit. And here's Stu with an important fill ball shot in our opening match.
That's pretty good.
And Stu with the strike.
All right.
And we'll see if Prather can deliver as Stu Williams shoots 236. But will it be enough?
But Kris has looked very impressive on this right lane the whole tournament. He just caught Stu out in the 9th frame. Not sure if Kris feels like he needs to make a move. I know he got the last one in the 8th frame a little bit further right, but he got it with his hand so nice that it came up well. I think he was a little bit surprised how much it came up. So I'm looking at, I think Kris is going to throw good shots here, just whether he carries.
2 days ago, Kris Prather had it in his hands to control his destiny, and he lost. Can he change his fortunes today? Prather gets the first one. No emotion out of him, staying calm.
Yeah, very nice shot there. Got off his hand so clean. Got the ball to rev up. Didn't get it quite as far right as his last attempt on this lane. But very nice there.
Ball drives through the pocket perfectly. And Kris Prather needs a strike and 9 to advance now. Drama-filled opening match here at the PBA Tulsa Open. As Stu can hardly look. His eyes are closed. Not even watching. As Prather steps up, must-strike situation right here. And a 10-pin for Prather. And the struggles in the stepladder continue for Kris Prather. As he will... in some respects, this week has been a dream for Prather as he's made 3 stepladder finals, but the results have just been a nightmare for him.
Yeah, just looking at that shot again, that's the one he got to the right. Just shoved through the mid lane a little bit too far behind the head pin. He really likes it. Unfortunately, just did not carry for him.
And an uninspired shot at the 10-pin, as you might expect, for Prather there. And the final score, Stu Williams survives 236 to 227 as Kris Prather falls again in our stepladder finals. But Kris Prather, a very talented young man. He continues to bowl well. He's had a pretty decent season, and you would expect we'll see him again in the future.
I think when you look back at that game, if you're Kris Prather, you just think about that one bad shot that you made in the 9th frame, the 3-pin. But a very solid game there, and I think anytime you get into this situation on the stepladder, all you can do is bowl a good game and hope you have enough. You can't control the scoring pace, you can't control what your opponent's going to do. So I think he did a very good account of himself there, and he'll be back for sure.
So Stu Williams advances, and he'll be taking on E.J. Tackett in our next match coming up here in just a minute, live on FloBowling. And we are back here at the lanes at Coffee Creek in Owasso, Oklahoma. I'm Lucas Wiseman alongside England's Dom Barrett as we gear up for our next match. in the Stepladder finals of the FloBowling PBA Tulsa Open, the final event of the PBA Fall Swing.
Yeah, very exciting match. Saw Kris Prather in a double in the 10th frame. Unfortunately, didn't quite get there. But you kind of didn't want either of those players to lose. They've both had a really good week, Stu Williams and Kris Prather, and unfortunately one had to.
So there's a look at our
our
updated Stepladder finals bracket with Stu Williams moving on, taking on EJ Tackett, the winner to bowl Richie Teece. And then our championship match already has Andrew Anderson seated in.
Yeah, Lucas, like you said, this is a kind of a repeat of the show on Bear just a couple of nights back.
Yeah, that's right. EJ Tackett won just 2 nights ago here live on FloBowling and in the Bear Open and defeated Stu Williams. And now they're matching up yet again as EJ Tackett will start the match on the left lane. And actually, Dom, having that choice of which lane you want to start on and which lane you want to finish on is incredibly important as EJ breaks up the split for the 10, because we are bowling on 2 different patterns. So that's a big advantage for the higher seeds.
Yeah, right now it's about as important as it gets, more so than any regular tournament. I think we're going to see Bear, the left lane that EJ is bowling on right now, transition and potentially could get quite ugly, whereas usually the more the right lane transitions, the wolf pattern transitions, it kind of gets a bit simpler. So being a higher seed, getting to pick which lane you want to finish on, typically I think they're going to want to finish on the wolf pattern, the right lane, which means the guy who's the lower seed will have to finish on the tougher lane, and the 10th frame's is the biggest frame that we have.
So here's Williams kicking off his second game of the day on our Stepladder finals, and he kicks out the 4-pin for the strike. Off to a perfect start. His wife Tina watching back home in Arizona.
Yeah, nice shot there from Stu. Kind of hard as well when you didn't get to the bowl. He would have been practicing, as we saw at the end there, but it would have been on the pair adjacent. So he didn't get any more shots on this pair that he just won on. Whereas EJ got a few. It could have been 4, could have been 6. I'm not quite sure, but he gets to take them anyway he feels. So he creates transition that Stu doesn't get to see. Plus, you don't, when you throw shots on another lane, even though you know exactly what you're doing on the pair you just won on, it does take a shot or 2 just to get you back synced into that pair.
Well, Stu looking pretty dialed in on that shot. He's when we've seen Stu get really focused and dialed in, he can repeat shots pretty well, even on these dual patterns.
So I keep seeing on social media, and I talk to Stu when he's in the States and I'm back home in England. I think he bowls 800 every other week
yeah,
in
it
league.
Seems like it, right?
Bowls 300 sort of every night. He goes and bowls, and his ball strikes a lot.
And EJ playing even more direct than the other players on that right lane, but it goes through the face and leaves the 3-6-10.
Yes, that's what we were talking about before, about potentially the higher seeds using urethane. So they're going to be wanting to have a straighter angle. They don't. Well, EJ does have a 2-handed rev rate. Rev rate of the 2-hand is correct, but he has been playing quite far outside, fairly direct up the lane on this right lane, on the wolf pattern. But that one overhooked there, so even after he had practice, he's still overhooked on him.
And he did make the spare there. And we're going to head down to Phil Brylow laneside with a very disappointed Kris Prather.
Making 3 step ladders in the same swing. Only a handful of guys have done that in PBA history. What can you take from this week's fall swing and have a really successful U.S. Open?
Yeah, just a lot of confidence. I didn't really bowl a whole lot coming into this swing, so I'm going to ride the wave a little bit, and hopefully it carries over.
And you'll get to see Kris and everybody else here on the FloBowling coverage of the U.S. Open starting on Friday.
All right, so Kris Prather hopefully trying to look at the positive side of this week. He had a very good week with 3 shows.
Yeah, they catch it right that he said he hadn't been bowling much before this swing. Well, if I hadn't bowled much, I think I'm average about 170. But he bowled great this whole week, and like you said, it's going to take a lot of confidence into the big US Open next week.
And here's Stu, and he goes high. He did that last game on that lane and leaves the 4-6 split on the double.
You have to say well done to the guys with the camera angle. You can really see exactly how far left Stu got that ball on this pattern. He needs to get it out to around the 2 board. That's probably around the 5. And there wasn't that hold that we saw a little bit earlier that he was creating. And whether he moved his feet, maybe it was just a bad shot, maybe he grabbed it and got his hand around it too much, but it certainly didn't do what he wanted to do. But it does need to get further right than that on that lane. Now that's Stu's comfortable lane. Stu likes to use angle on this lane throughout the front part of the lane, up to the mid lane. You can see how far left he is, because he feels like that gives him the best shape.
So a blower 10 there for Stu Williams in the 4th. He trails by a pin now.
Yeah, the ball got a little bit long on him there, a little bit behind the head pin. Pretty good shot on that lane. I mean, EJ also left a 10 pin, as we saw when Kris had his interview, and that messenger come over and annihilated it.
So Williams covers it up. No problem there. Is got a pretty even match here through 3.5 frames in our second match of the Stepladder finals. Stu looking a little baffled at this point as he goes for a
drink. I think he's pretty frustrated after that poor shot in the 3rd frame. You can be happy with the one in the 4th frame, I think that 10 pin. But we know with EJ, once he starts striking, he can bowl really big games.
EJ gets lucky, gets that 10 out on a, that would have been a very tough 4-10 lead. We actually saw that almost left a couple of times the other night on that pattern where I think maybe the rack is a little bit bad on that lane. There's been some rack issues here, but you don't see pocket 410s too often, and so
no.
It's unusual.
Would have been a harsh leave if it did stand up. He had that pin roll over and just knock it out there. But we've had a couple of issues with racks this week, and yeah, as a professional tournament, it would be nice if we didn't have those issues. But I guess that's the reality we live in at the moment. But I have to say, with the hosts have been fantastic. We have a great host here. I have to say thank you very much to all the management team from this bowling centre, and they've really looked after us very well.
So there's the average scores on the patterns. Wolf at 207, Bear at 200, and the average for the Tulsa Open, which is the mixed, at 212.
It went up in the Tulsa Open because of the cut, right? So
right, because you only had the 18 best players.
Bowling.
That's right. You only have the 18 best players of the week bowling, so that's why that number goes up a little bit. EJ disappointed with that shot.
I've seen EJ take a much more direct route on this Bear pattern, which I'm a little bit surprised about. I think EJ is very good at going left and getting the ball away from the head pin without getting it behind the head pin like we saw Stu did on that last shot on this lane. But he's choosing a little bit straighter angle of attack. We'll see how it plays out.
Well, we're even right now through 4.5. As both players seem to be struggling a bit. Stu got off to a great start with a double. Then last time on this lane, left a 4-6 split.
So the big key here for Stu is just to let his ball come off his hand fairly nicely, let the ball rev up, but get it to the right. That did not happen.
Stu kicks out the 4-pin for the strike on that shot. He's still flirting a little bit with danger on that right lane.
If I was sat behind him as his coach, I'd be telling him to get it about 4 boards further right down lane than that. I think he's not very happy with that. He's not getting it there. But it didn't go Brooklyn, it didn't go too high, and he came away with a strike. So,
and that's a great angle because you can see exactly where the end of the pattern is from that angle when the ball just takes off left. And so Stu probably is going to have to make a slight adjustment on that right lane, and something doesn't feel right for Stu here.
Someone's got a voodoo doll or whatever they're called and putting pins in it. I reckon they got his hand.
It looks like he pinched. He looks like he pinched his thumb there when putting it in the ball.
And I think he grabbed it so hard on the last shot that it still hurts. Okay, have a little reset. Best thing to do. Start again.
All right, so Stu Williams looking to take a 10-pin lead with a strike here in the 6th. What a shot. Great shot there from Stu Williams, and he knows it. He is in the lead now by 10 after 5.5 frames.
Yeah, and you can see that ball from that camera angle. I think everyone's doing a great job here with the camera angles. You can see the ball rev up. just there. You can see the ball almost feel like it's speeding up as it's going down lane. It's actually the ball picking up and revving up harder than what Stu let go. And then it just goes to the pins absolutely perfect. All right, see what EJ's got.
EJ Tackett, 6th frame, now trailing by 10.
If he makes a move off of his last 2 shots, moving left on the approach.
He has moved left just a little bit. This time leaves a 4-pin. So as he moves a little bit left, he'll move into that area where Stu is eventually. If he has to be careful on that right lane.
Yeah.
He's still a little bit right of where Stu's playing, though. But you have to be cognizant of the traffic as you move around.
Kind of, but with urethane, it does play a much bigger part than reactive. Reactive kind of stands up off of that part of the lane a lot harder. Urethane won't do that, which is what EJ's using. So it's kind of trapped. You either have to jump over to where Stu is and play a much slower ball motion than what Stu's playing, or he needs to move right and throw it harder. But like you say, the whole transition is going to be a bit different here because on this pattern, I don't think there's been many pairs that we played on throughout all of match play that didn't have urethane on it.
So EJ Tackett trailing by 11 pins. 7th frame, he's only thrown 1 strike so far. And this time comes up light, almost leaves a 2-8-10, leaving just the 10 pin, and EJ looking a little confused.
So this what's been really hard about this week from having the dual patterns is just if you had one lane, even if EJ was striking on the right lane, it's so difficult to make a guess and make a decision, change ball, change angle, because you've only got 5 shots on that lane. EJ's now had 3 of them on the left lane. His ball reaction doesn't look particularly good, but he's only got 1 shot left. Had 4 shots, there you go.
So we're going to head down to Phil Brylo laneside.
Yeah, Stu Williams, I talked to his ball rep, Jim Callahan from Storm, and he says basically Stu's got to commit to the ball that's in his hand on that wolf pattern. There's nothing else in his bag that Stu's happy with. Whatever Stu does now, it's going to have to be with movement with feet and target because he can't change balls. Nothing comfortable in the bag.
So Stu Williams throwing the hypercell on that right line. Looks like he's moved a little left. And high flush strike there for Stu. 3 in a row, and he extends his lead to 22.
Yeah, I think Stu only having this ball as the option on this pattern isn't a bad thing right now. He's going to have to figure it out. I think it's actually making a very good motion for him. It's picking up in the mid lane very, very well. He's throwing a couple there. Even that one, you know, his hand was quite far around it. It wasn't kind of, not so much behind, but kind of letting the ball roll off of his hand. He's still kind of turning his hand in the ball, and it isn't overhooking. So a lot of positives are coming from his ball choice on that lane. And he is bowling a good game now. He's got a double open and a triple, so he's bowling a good game. He's in the 220s, but or 2 teens. Could be 220 if this strikes. Yeah, looking great. So, and you can see why Stu wanted to the first match. He wanted to finish on this left lane. Why he feels a bit more comfortable on this left lane.
4 strikes in a row now for Stu Williams as he extends his lead to 32. And Dom, you would think that Stu would be very happy if EJ kind of faltered here 8th and 9th to let him have a chance to throw a different ball on that 9th on the right lane. Stu may want to get a look on that right lane if he has a chance, but
I think like
we'll
Phil
see.
was saying though, I'm not sure Stu does have too many more options.
Yeah, he may be
right
committed to that, but he's also got another potentially 2 more games left on this. As EJ trying to hang in there, and he does strike here in the 8th. Max score for EJ Tackett is 224. Stu Williams can max at 256.
Yeah, impressive move there from EJ. I wouldn't say he necessarily moved his feet, but it was definitely firmer. Kept it a little bit more on line, didn't quite use the gutter as much. And the ball went through the pins very nicely. Ball change on the left lane from EJ. So he was using that ball a little bit further to the right. Couldn't quite tell the arrow, but it's probably just left of 15. That's 15, 16, 17 at the arrows. Let's see what decision he makes with this ball.
Yeah, if EJ strikes here, he can make Stu Williams do a little bit of work in the 9th and the 10th. Big shot for EJ.
Moves a long way left.
High flush strike for the double. And EJ Tackett still has a pulse in this match.
Yeah, very impressive from EJ. Like we were saying just before, I was just saying how hard it is to change ball for 1 frame, but he did it. Took that risk and it paid off. Okay, so EJ can strike out for 224. Right now, Stu is at 226 pace. That means if Stu spares out, he's going to lose a little bit of count, but he'll be in the 220s, and EJ needs to strike out for that. So,
this is a big shot
here from Stu.
Stu has had a little bit of struggles on this lane. Let's see what he does.
He got it right.
Way
he got
right.
His hand rounded it. It's fine. Great shot.
Gets the strike for 5 in a row, and Stu Williams is in great position to advance to the semifinal. Let's take a look at this one.
That's one we were looking for when he got the ball a little bit to the right, a little bit earlier. His hand was still round it, but I think now he's moving into the part of the lane where having your hand round the ball. What I mean by that is he's moving further left with his feet, so he's going to need to have a little bit of axis rotation with his hand. That's what he's creating. The ball didn't overhook, went through the pins perfectly.
Just needs a mark here for the shutout in the 10th frame. On his good lane, right?
This is good lane. So, deep breath, make a good shot. He likes it.
And Stu blasts out all 10 for a strike, and that's a winner for Stu Williams as he will advance to take on Richie Teece in the semifinal.
Yeah, great shot from Stu. Liked it straight off his hand. See a little reaction there.
Stu's feeling it today. He wants that second title.
Yeah, he's bowling very well, very nicely. Got good control of both of these patterns, which isn't easy to do. What I do want to see, though, what I am intrigued about, is the guys coming on in a minute, Richie Teece and then Andrew. What do they decide to do on this bear pattern?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see when they come on here in just a couple of minutes as Stu finishes it up.
As we saw with EJ there, it took him 4 frames plus the practice on that left lane, so he didn't get to the 9th frame on the left lane before he decided to hook it. I wonder what the other guys are going to do and if they're going to find something different.
Stu with a big breath and a little fist pump, and I'm sure Tina at home is very happy right now with her husband.
And so she should be. He's bowling great. He's been bowling great for a long time.
So EJ Tackett has the most titles on the PBA Tour this season, 3 of them, but he'll come up short here today, and he'll hope to have a strong performance at the U.S. Open in another week and maybe win that Player of the Year race.
Yeah, Player of the Year. It's a bit up the air at the moment.
I think that we could get some clarity here this afternoon if Andrew Anderson were to win the title, though.
Absolutely. Yeah, he's had a great season.
So your final score, 245 to 212. Stu Williams defeats EJ Tackett to advance into our semifinal match. So coming up in just a couple of minutes after some practice shots, it's going to be a battle of 2 English bowlers. Stu Williams taking on Richie Teece in our semifinal when we come back live on FloBowling. Final practice shots for Richie Teece in progress as we are heading into our semifinal match. Richie Teece taking on Stu Williams in a battle of English bowlers for the right to bowl Andrew Anderson for the title. We're at the lanes at Coffee Creek in Owasso, Oklahoma. I'm Lucas Wiseman alongside 6-time PBA champion and 2013 PBA World Championship winner, Don Barrett.
Yeah, hi guys, thanks for having me in here.
Well, you should know an awful lot about these 2 guys because you're very familiar with them. You're from England, and so are they, and you've bowled a lot with them and a lot against them. Who do you like in this match?
Yeah, 2 very good friends. It's hard for me to say. I mean, I think Richie has bowled so well this week, and Stu's been bowling really well for a few months now. So I think it's going to be a good match, and the fact that the winner gets to face Andrew Anderson, who's arguably the strongest candidate for our Player of the Year this year, I think is a very deserving top 3. I'm looking forward to see who wins.
Yeah, it should be a great match as we look at Richie Teece finishing his practice. I talked to Jim Callahan, who's the ball rep for Storm, about Richie, and I said, Jim, why is Richie bowling so well this week? And Jim said that it's all about attitude and his mental game. He said Richie has been the strongest mentally of anybody in the field so far today, and that has really helped him, and yesterday as well, and that has really helped him on these dual patterns because being mentally sharp is so important. And yesterday I tweeted out I wouldn't want to be a bowling bag in this bowling center because a lot of them got kicked yesterday morning. But during that, Richie Teece was very level-headed and even and kept his cool, while a lot of people around him were frying a little bit and having some negativity. He stayed very positive, and that can be a very important factor.
It's very important. I think that's Richie, kind of laid back. I'm going to say it's his roommate has helped him out too. Me this week, no, not really. I think Richie's kind of like that. He's probably similar to myself. He stays quite level-headed throughout and just try to make those calm, clear-cut decisions that don't have too much emotion involved, that you can just go about your business and just go and make good shots. And I think he's done a very good job of that so far.
And by the way, Richie Teece, the only bowler to bowl a 300 in the match play on the dual patterns. Yesterday he did that, and for you FloBowling subscribers, we've got an exclusive premium piece of content for you on FloBowling.com where you can see every shot of Richie Teese's 300 game where he's playing a different part of the lane on each lane. It's very impressive and an incredibly difficult thing to do.
It absolutely is. Yeah, I think he bowled ever so well so far. And I asked him yesterday, and I kind of were there with him, and I asked him about that camera there. Just enjoying ourselves.
I'm going for a ride on the camera.
Here we go. Made me dizzy. Yeah, I said to him after the first block yesterday, the 6 games, I said, hey, Richie, how did you bowl? He said, oh, 260 over. Like, what, with bonus? 260 over on that? How did you do that? Said, no, scratch.
He had a great day yesterday. Is Richie Teece. Look at some highlights here. Oh, here we go. This is the 300 game from Richie Teece, the last couple of shots. And you can see this is the final shot right here. He finished on that right lane and tripped out the 4-9 for the 300 game. And again, you can see every shot of that game exclusively for FloBowling subscribers at FloBowling.com. And Phil's got something on Richie down on lane side.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. As Richie was finishing up practice talking to his ball reps, he hit the surface on his bowling ball a couple of times just for the ball on the bear pattern. So looked like he got a little more scuff on the ball, and it should be interesting to see how his ball reaction is different than Stu's in the front part of the lane during the early part of this match.
Saw that from the front there. We saw Steve Jacobs at the back going over the new high-performance ball from Storm physics and kind of wondering, without being able to see the lane, exactly what does that mean for the part of the lane that Richie's going to play. Now, obviously, we saw EJ finish up his match against Stu. He decided to hook it right at the end, and he struck. So I know Richie hasn't hooked it too much on the bear pattern. He stayed a little bit further to the right. But with Stu being the dominant player throughout the stepladder, is Richie going to take that step left as well, and will he be using that ball he just put surface on?
Well, Stu once again finds himself starting on the left lane. I don't think there's any surprise there. And Stu starts off with a strike.
Actually, that means Stu's going to finish on the shorter pattern, the wall. So whether Richie's done that knowing that Stu likes the bear a little bit more as his favourite pattern, or if Richie likes, because now Richie isn't going to finish on that short pattern. What we were saying about before with EJ, it's been the highest scoring pattern. It's the one that a lot of high scores came out the first event that we bowled, the Wolf Open. But Richie's electing to start on that lane and to finish on bear.
That one looks a little left, but it holds. He's throwing the urethane and gets the strike. I want to remind you to tune in for the 2018 U.S. Open, October 26th to the 30th, live here on FloBowling. We'll have all the coverage for you leading up to the TV finals, which will be on CBS Sports Network. So be sure to join us October 26th through the 30th, just starting next Friday for the U.S. Open, biggest event of the year and the final event of the season on the 2018 PBA Tour.
So Richie on that right lane, he's not hooking it anywhere near as much as EJ was with his urethane.
And a messenger comes across and takes out the 10. Richie Teece throwing the wood here.
Richie Teece. Didn't know he had that in his locker.
Double to start for Teece.
Yeah, as you can see, he's a long way left. He's there where Stu is.
Watch that head pin fly across and take out the 10.
Yeah, things are going the right way for him this week. That was a great shot. Got a big messenger. You can see that he's elected to go quite deep on that lane, just the way that Stu's playing it.
And And Stu, he trips out the 4-6. Almost left it for the third time today, but he gets it to trip out for the strike and the double.
The crowd go crazy. Stu playing to the crowd at the end a little bit there, and I think he quite enjoyed that too.
So a lucky break there for Stu Williams.
I think this is quite well deserved, though. I think these guys, I think they bowled so well for such a long time. You want to see them get a couple of breaks go their way in these matches, and I think they thoroughly deserve it as well after bowling great all week.
Third frame for Stu Williams, looking to stay perfect. And he does. 3 in a row to start for Stu Williams. And we're going to head down to Phil, who's standing by with EJ Tackett.
EJ, Stu's got you heading to Wichita a little bit earlier than you wanted to. That left lane's been tricky for everyone all day on this bear pattern. What did you see early on in practice? How had you playing that lane straighter?
That's kind of what I did all week in the beginning. Just trying to keep my angles in front of me, kind of control the back part of the lane. And it wasn't until I threw my first shot that made me think that maybe it wasn't right. But I struck on that second shot on that lane and threw a bad shot the third one. And the fourth shot I threw over there in the seventh, it slipped past it, and I almost left at 210. And that's when I finally realized that, this isn't the right ball. I'm not in the right part of the lane. And the right lane just kept overhooking a little bit for me. I kept moving. Then I finally struck there in the 8th and, changed balls in the 9th and, made the right move.
Yeah, good luck in Wichita next week, because it might not just be for Player of the Year implications, but also you could get that triple crown with winning the U.S. Open.
Yeah, so I'm going to work hard this few days and hopefully have a good next week.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
All right, Richie Teece, perfect through 3. Oh, and a tough 7-pin leave there for Teece. That is a brutal break there on what looked like a pretty decent shot, Dom.
Yeah, great shot there from Richie. Just crept high on the head pin like we saw Stu earlier, but yeah, you would take that every day. Tough break there, but important. It's still early in the game. Go make a spare. Keep going, yeah. That was very nice. So I'm really intrigued about the right lane. I saw Richie do this all week, but not from this camera angle. He's doing the exact opposite of everyone else in this pattern. His ball's hardly hooking.
Yep.
No, he's using that urethane ball that doesn't hook too much.
Teece going to hook it across at the 7-pin. Is that typical for him to hook its left side spares like that?
I think he's missed a couple of spares this week, so that's the only reason why I would think you would do that on such a flat pattern. But he made it right in the middle of the pin. So
here's a comparison of the two patterns from our friends at Lane Talk, and you can see the total pinfall average number of games, and the first ball average about the same, 8.8. And
yeah, so as we saw those that graphic, it was actually, if it was the other way around, it would have been easier to see. But it was actually showing that the wolf pattern was a little bit higher scoring than the bear.
And Stu stays perfect through 4 frames. Up by 11 pins early on here in our semifinal match. Andrew Anderson waiting to take on the winner. Andrew down here on 7 and 8 practicing.
That was a nice adjustment there from Stu. His ball did exactly the right thing on that right lane then, so he didn't go high that time. He made an adjustment. Looked like the ball stayed a little bit quicker, whether he threw it firmer, whether the ball just didn't slow down quite as much, but it was a fantastic shot. Now to Stu's favourite pattern of all time, it seems, this week.
He's looked pretty strong on this pattern, and he continues to look strong with 5 in a row to start. Front 5 for Stu Williams as he jumps out to a 21-pin lead.
You could even say with Stu moving this far left that he may have even got that one in a little. It definitely pushed a little bit more, but by the time it hit the pocket, it was absolutely dead flush. And Stu seeing exactly what he wants on this lane, on this pair. He's got both lanes at the moment. Looking fantastic. Now Richie's playing a much different line on this wolf pattern. He's just letting the ball roll off his hand. He's not expecting the ball to hook too much. And just letting it roll up early.
Richie looks like he's just relying on his shot-making ability at this point on that right lane, just kind of jamming it in there. Not trying to do a whole lot with the ball, not hooking it a lot, and so far it's been pretty successful for him, especially on that right lane. It's worked well.
Yeah, he's attacking the lane completely differently. I think he's still got a bit of room there from the looks of it. He had one to go up the lane a little bit further, but he's just playing a lot of front end reaction, really getting that urethane ball, which he hasn't hit with surface, by the way, as he was trying to help me with my urethane. There isn't a lot of urethane being used actually from hooking it too much and getting it to the outside part of the lane. It's more what Richie's been doing, that early hook.
And Teece comes up light, leaves the 2-8 here in the 6th.
Yeah, you have to say that's an adjustment from the over-the-top 7-pin that he left just last time on this lane. And the ball just gets a little bit long, gets potentially a little bit long there, stays a little bit too far to the right.
You can just see the ball deflect off the head pin as it hits it and head back to the right instead of driving through the pins.
You can see his break point then got very long, got very wide. Done well to recover and not 2-8-10. He leave the 2-8.
Spare here, he's still down 21. And he does cover it up. That's a tricky spare on this pattern.
Absolutely, it's been a tricky spare this week. I think the lane talk guys have probably been laughing at the back at how many we've missed, but that has been pretty tough. You may as well put a circle around it. Let's call it a split. A bit like the 3-6-9-10 as well. That's not been too pleasant.
So Stu Williams working on the front 5 has a chance to really extend his lead here in the 6th and the 7th frames coming up. If he can put a couple of more strikes on the board. He currently is up by 21. Strike here, he pushes it to 31.
Very nice shot there.
And the messenger tomahawks across and takes out the 10 for the front 6 for Stu Williams.
You can see how comfortable Stu feels now. At the end of last game against EJ, you can see the ball not quite coming off his hand just like that. Is coming around the ball a little bit more than what he's doing now, and the ball actually just got a little bit lazy on that shot there because of how far he's moved his feet left. But very encouraging having that messenger hit that 10-pin perfectly. Hey Richie, guess who else has got the power?
Stu Williams up by 31 and will take a commanding 41-pin lead if he can strike here in the 7th frame.
You know, us Brits, we throw messengers all the time.
And Stu stays perfect through 7.
I'm going to attach myself to these two great bowlers out there who's throwing pins everywhere. I think I may have had one the whole week, but these guys are bowling great.
Here's a great look at the ball reaction for Stu Williams as he just perfectly puts the ball through the pins for the strike. And Richie Teece is in a world of trouble right now.
He sure is. Yeah, he strikes out now for 259. And Stu is already at 250 pace. Pretty much a must-strike situation for Richie Teece. And he hasn't bowled that many bad shots yet. He's bowling really well.
That one inside off his hand to begin with, and he leaves the baby split, the 310. And this match is quickly slipping away from Richie Teece.
Yeah, he didn't quite get that one up the lane like we were saying before. You want the ball to hook early, but when he kind of corrected it off of his hand a little bit left, and didn't really have much chance. Big spare though.
He can still hang in this match. He's got to make this spare, and he's going to need some help from Stu. Covers it up.
Not easy on a 33-foot pattern that's completely flat in the middle, getting your ball to go that straight and deflect from the 3-pin into the 10, but very well done there from Richie.
He can still shoot 247 if he strikes out. Stu's max, of course, we won't mention it, but he's got the front 7.
All right, you just did, I think. I think that counts. I'm going to tell everybody. Unless he does it. We won't have to worry about it.
Yeah, Stu going at about a 250, 260 pace here. Whereas Richie can only max at 247. That ball checked up pretty early, didn't it? Yeah, you could see it wiggle early and goes through the face. And
I think a lot of that has to do with what Stu's been doing to this lane. Now, he hasn't been using the dole ball. He hasn't been using sort of the newest release or anything like that, but he is using a ball that's fairly quick in the mid lane. But what that really is happening on this pattern, even though it has a lot of oil, is very flat. So when the pattern's very flat, that oil is spread out across the whole lane, and it actually feels to us sometimes like there isn't as much oil in the lane as what the graph says because it's spread out so much.
And an open frame for Richie Teece, and this match is just about over now.
Yeah, I think that's about it now. Well, as you can see, mathematically, unless Stu puts this one in the gutter, which I don't expect him to do, this one is over.
So Stu Williams looks like he's going to advance to our championship match against Andrew Anderson, but we still have 3 frames to go.
And what could happen in these 3 frames?
Could be very interesting. We've got a little bit of drama here left. Stu steps up in the 8th. Looks good. Gets the strike. 8 in a row on these dual patterns for Stu Williams.
I think that 6-pin just ran through the 10 and almost put a hole in the curtain at the back there. It went through so hard. Great looking shot there from Stu. Right, that's him into the championship match.
He's looking pretty dialed in right now.
So what's he going to do the last couple of frames? Just practice a little? What's he going to do? Change ball, you think? Or is he going to... You going to say it?
I'm thinking Stu's going to stay focused here and try to keep going with this string of strikes. 9th frame. Stu Williams still perfect through 9. And Richie says, there's not much I can do about this.
Better get out of the way quick, Richie.
Yeah,
there's a Williams train coming through.
I imagine that's kind of, Richie's just thinking, I'm just going to get up, bowl, get out of the way, and let Stu finish his game here.
Yeah, I'm sure he is. Yeah, he's the match is over, but we still have quite a bit of entertainment left in this one. Up the lane there from Richie.
Great week for Richie Teece, though. He had a great week. He bowled really well throughout the match play. Made 2 stepladder finals. If you're Richie Teece, is this a successful week?
Absolutely. I think came out in the World Series last year in November time, and sort of that was his sort of breakout onto the PBA Tour. He won a title. And now this is kind of, you have to kind of reaffirm yourself a little bit after you've done something like that. I had to do it myself. You go out there and you win early and, you know, it's great, but you have a few results that don't go your way and you kind of almost have to start over. So I think this is great for Richie coming out, bowling great this week, bowled well all week, really showing that he belongs out here on tour and the great bowler he's becoming. And there's a learning curve being out here on tour as well, playing against best bowlers in the world, against the guys with the highest rev rates in the world as well, makes the transition completely different. But Richie's really becoming that fine bowler.
So Richie Teece just finishing up here, 10th frame of our semifinal match. Andrew Anderson waiting for Stu Williams in our championship match coming up in just a couple of minutes. But we're still not quite finished here yet, even though the match has been decided. We do have some excitement heading into the 10th frame for Stu Williams, as he is perfect through 9.
So what could happen, Lucas? What's going to happen if he strikes out? Why should people keep watching?
Well, it's not too often you get these opportunities. We did have one a few nights ago with Andrew Anderson, who had the front 11 in the semifinal. Ended up going through the face and leaving a 3-6-10 for 297.
In the World Cup. Were you commentating when Chris Barnes won?
I did.
And what did he bowl that last game?
Yep, Chris Barnes with a 300 game in the stepladder at the World Cup when he won that event.
So maybe you aren't the black cloud you think you are. And I believe there is a bonus for Stuart Williams if he does go on to bowl 300 here.
Yep, $1,000 bonus, courtesy of the PBA, if we have a 300 game in our stepladder finals. So
hear that, Tina?
Here's Stu, front 9, 10th frame.
All right, Stewie.
That's in a little bit, but it holds for the strike, and we've got 10 in a row now. And Stu looks like he has a little bit of area on that right lane that's developed.
Yeah, he's feeling pretty comfortable now, as you can tell, the amount of strikes he's thrown. He had a lot of strikes to finish the last game too, if I remember. You have a 9 count at the end to start it off again, and yeah, like this right lane has been this tricky lane throughout the whole event. I know we were saying into the last match that he didn't have any other options, but he doesn't need it.
So dual patterns, 33-foot pattern on the right lane, 39-foot on the left lane, and Stu Williams has mastered it perfectly here in the semifinal with 10 strikes in a row. Looking to take it to 11.
An overhook.
Oh, and Stu gets that one right, a little slow, and it overhooks through the face and leaves the 610. So it'll be a 288 with the spare for Stu Williams. But a great game on these dual patterns to shoot 280, and he will move on to our championship match. As you see, the ball just picks up and drives through the head pin and leaves a 6-10.
Looks like he actually got it right early, and the ball picked up so hard and started to slow down so much it overhooked there. But you know what? Actually, thinking about the title, I don't know if I always want to go into a title match just bowling 300 and kind of starting again. So 298 there, or 288. So it says 290 on the board there. Yeah, 288 for Stuart, and moving on to the title match against the best bowler so far in 2018.
That's right. Final score 288-203. Stu Williams advances against fellow English bowler Richie Teece, and he will take on Andrew Anderson for the title here in Owasso, Oklahoma, when we come back live on FloBowling from the FloBowling PBA Tulsa Open. We are set for our championship match here at the FloBowling PBA Tulsa Open. You can see our full stepladder bracket there. Stu Williams climbing the ladder all the way from match 1 up to the championship. He'll take on number 1 seed Andrew Anderson for the title. And we're going to head down to Phil Brylow laneside.
Had a chance to talk to Stu Williams between the matches here about that 11th shot. He said it was kind of a combination of him coming around it too much and really just wanting to experiment. He's looking at the big picture, bringing home this Tulsa Open title. He knew about the $1,000 on the line, but the way that right lane's starting to change up on him, he wanted to make sure he stayed ahead of it. He thought if he didn't come around it as much as he did in that shot, he would have been flush in the pocket, and he's got a pretty good feel for that right lane going into the championship match.
So there you go, Phil, with some nice insight on how Stu is thinking. And of course, $1,000 would have been nice for the 300 game, but eye on the prize is $30,000 for first place in the Tulsa Open. So big chunk of change here, one of the biggest prizes of the year on the PBA Tour.
Yeah, it's been a big week for all of us bowlers, but more so the guys here on the TV show now. I've been on our webcast show, FloBowling show, and they've been on one already this week. So a very draining week, but this is the climax now. Let's see who's going to walk off as our champion.
Yeah, and Andrew Anderson has had a great season so far. 2 titles, his first 2 titles of his career have come this season. One at the USBC Masters and Major, and he's looking to cement his spot at the top of the PBA Player of the Year race with a win here today. And not a great start for Andrew as he comes up light and leaves the 2-4-10.
I think that first shot shows exactly why Andrew wanted to start on this lane and not finish on it. His ball pushed a long way, got behind the head pin, and 2-4-10s. It is bearable, but not easy.
So an open frame to start for Anderson, as Williams can jump out to a real quick lead here with just a mark in the first frame. And the way Stu looked in that last game, Andrew probably is thinking he needs to be a little bit more careful here to not fall too far behind too early.
Yeah, Stu's bowled 230, 240, 280. He's got a very good blueprint of this lane right now. Got a good picture of this whole pair, each lane. There we go.
Nice looking strike there from Stu. And you know, Dom, is it maybe an advantage for Stu to have been on this pair for 3 games and seen how the lanes transition, or is Andrews coming in with just a little bit of practice?
I think you always want to be top seed. However, there's nothing more advantageous than being on a pair of lanes for the best part of an hour before your opponent comes over and you've already bowled 3 games on it. You know exactly what's going on. You've seen the transition. You've seen the other guys right in front of you bowl. You feel comfortable. You just need to go up and execute now.
Second frame, Stu Williams. And that one got away from him a little bit. Looks like he maybe just yanked that one a little bit, Dom.
I'll say so. I think he's a long way left with his feet. I think he's been inching there every few frames or so, it looks like, and he's been taking certain jumps over certain boards and just didn't quite get that one into mid lane the right way. Definitely come up a little bit short, didn't get it quite as far right as I'm sure he wanted to. And just about covers the spare.
Yeah, spare is good for Williams as he leads by 11. As we are very early in our championship match of the final event of the 2018 FloBowling PBA Tulsa Open. It's the final event of the fall swing. There's some stats Thanks to our friends at Lane Talk, strike on strike. So how often Andrew Anderson strikes after throwing a strike? 57% of the time. And a strike on an open, 54.5% of the time.
This is Andrew chose to finish on this lane.
And what a bad start here for Andrew Anderson. A 4-6-7 split. Looking at back-to-back opens to start off this championship match.
That's a great camera angle, guys. I think that's brilliant. That shows you really how early that ball hooked. It looked like that when the ball came into the camera angle we're watching right now, by the time the ball got down lane, he didn't get it far enough right. But that first camera angle proved that he did. It just overhooked that much. So by the time we saw it, it was actually about 3 boards further left than we want it to be. We thought he missed left, but he didn't quite get it there. But it just hooked early. So he needs to make a move. If he saw it, I mean, we didn't see it before that camera angle, so I'm not sure if he even saw it.
So a 22-pin deficit already for Andrew Anderson after just 2 frames as he's had back-to-back opens and needs to get it together quickly here. And he does with a strike in the third. And we're going to go down to Phil Brylow, who has Richie Teece.
Richie, I'm telling you, your countrymen have it out for you. You go and win the Shark Open last year, then Dom has to go and win the DHC Japan Invitational. Now you both Stu today, and he just throws an absolute tongue game at you. What did you do to those guys?
I'm not sure. Like, I think I must have done something wrong at some point, but it was pretty hard to beat the front 9. I tried to put some heat on him with the front 3. I threw an okay shot and left side a single pin, but after that he kept striking, so it was hard to try and keep up with him after that.
And now traveling to Wichita, what's the plans once you get there before the U.S. Open?
I'm going to rest up a little bit. We bowled a lot of games this week. I've got a few injuries in my hand to let rest, and once it's all up and ready, practice for U.S. Open is going to be starting soon, so looking forward to it.
FloBowling coverage starts Friday from the U.S. Open.
Thanks, Phil. And a lot of games this week for these guys. 42 games of qualifying and match play, plus the extra games and the Stepladder finals and practice, et cetera, et cetera. So these guys will need a little bit of rest before they head to the U.S. Open on Friday. Here's Stu looking for a double. Comes up light, leaves the 2-4-8.
Yeah, great bowling by Richie all week. He's been playing really well, and I'm sure his injuries don't feel anywhere near as bad as the other guys who bowled that many games without bowling as well. So a couple of days rest, and I expect good things from Richie at the US Open. So a shot there from Stu. Last time on this lane, he didn't quite get it to the right, and 3-6. This one, he looked like he forced it there a little bit.
He covers up the spare. Cause for concern yet for Stu on that left lane, Dom?
I think we're going to see a bit of a different game here. I think Andrew is trying to catch up with the transition, and Stu right now doesn't have that left lane the last 2 frames. But there's so much, even though you've had 3 or 4 frames, there's so much game left, and there's 2 patterns you've got to go and figure out to bowl a good game. So very hard to predict any sort of scoring pace in any title match, especially this one.
Anderson looking for a double, and he has it. So after the tough start for Andrew Anderson, he's rebounded with a double here after a pair of opens, and he is down by 12. So this match getting closer and closer.
Andrew making an adjustment there on the right lane. Not sure he moved his feet or if he just firmed up, but it was absolutely perfect. Great shot. Good adjustment. And also it was a good adjustment last time on this left lane from him. His ball did not go too long like it did before. He made it start up earlier. Went through the pins perfect on this left lane last time. Let's see what he does this time.
Chance for Anderson to cut the deficit to just 2 pins after starting with the back-to-back opens. Got a handful of that one and delivers the strike for 3 in a row, and we've got a 2-pin match.
Sure did. He got that one off his hand really well. You can see the ball rev up in the mid lane right there. Perfect through the pins. All that power. Good shots.
And now Stu's probably got to be feeling a little bit of pressure here to deliver, especially on that left lane, because Andrew seems to have found the feel here in the last few frames.
Yeah, Andrew there, you know, he had the bad start. So Stu's had those clean frames. Andrew had the opens, but Stu has to keep this lane.
Stu with a blowout 9-pin on that shot. Ball drove past the 9-pin a little bit high, but not that bad of a shot.
I think he's okay with that. You know, it's not after a strike. He's not trying to double. He does lose pins if it was after a double. He still loses pins if, you know, he's trying to bowl 300 and trying to strike as much as he can. But if it's after a spare, you don't lose quite as many. So, you know, if you're going to have a break like that, you want it to be after a spare.
Stu is still up by a pin as we are at the halfway point of our championship match here at the FloBowling PBA Tulsa Open. $30,000 for the winner in one of the biggest events of the season on the PBA Tour.
This is where Stu needs to make that adjustment on this left lane. Looks like last time he just forced it a little bit too much. Didn't let the ball read quite as much after the mistake in the second frame. Let's see if he makes this adjustment now and get the ball to read up the right way again.
Stu has struggled on this left lane, looking to rebound here. And he does. Gets the strike. And he lets out a big sigh of relief there. He knows that was an important shot for him to strike on that left lane.
Yeah, wrong lane there. We just missed it. Almost got it though. But yeah, I think that one we could see on the other angle that ball got a long way up the lane. But with Stu chasing it left, that's what you want to happen. And dial down his speed a little bit.
And Anderson with a chance to take the lead here. This is an opportunity for a lead change in the 6th frame as Andrew is working on 3 strikes in a row. Strike here, he'll go up by 9.
Got it right.
Gets it right, and the 2 does not fall into the 5, and it is a 2-5 leave here for Anderson in the 6th. Watch the pin action here on this one.
So the first time on that lane, his ball roared into the head pin. It hooked early and it kept hooking. Then he made an adjustment and went flush. And it looks like he kept that sort of same thought.
Almost chops the spare, but gets it done. And a spare there, he's down by 3 with 4 frames to go in this match.
And lucky that one came down a little bit offset from before. You see how tight those pins are together. If that was on spot, he'd be missing it. But you can see the pins wobbling on his first shot. So the pins went up and came down the same way that they were supposed to. And he got his spare there. But yeah, so that was, I think that was just that same thought for Andrew on that right lane of making sure he wasn't going to throw it slow or make sure it doesn't overhook. And it certainly didn't that time, so that'll give him something to think about in the 8th frame as well.
7th frame, Andrew Anderson. Delivers a strike.
Yeah, very nice shot there. He looks very comfortable in that left lane now.
Absolutely, that is his 3rd strike in a row on the left lane. As you can see the ball drive through the pins here and snap out both the 7 and the 10.
Yeah, doing exactly the right thing. The ball that Andrew's using on the left lane, Tactics, is a little bit smoother than the one that Stu's using. But they're both playing a very similar shape.
Stu with a chance for a double to extend his lead to 13. Stu almost leaves another 9-pin, but slaps it out for the strike and the double, and a 13-pin lead for Stu Williams.
Yeah, he got it that time. It was a very similar shot than we just saw. His hand got around a little bit. Didn't get it quite as far right as the gutter. There's a great reaction there from Stu.
Big reaction out of Stu. Looks like Stu's kind of amped it up a little bit on that right lane to get it to push a little bit more and get down the lane. And that worked for him that time.
A little bit worrying that it went high again, but there's a nice little messenger that came over. And like I was saying before, you know, these guys have been bowling so well for such a long time. You want them to have not so much the fortune or the good breaks, but it's what they deserve. They deserve to have things go their way in these title matches and the best bowler come out on top.
Stu Williams, 8th frame, working on a double, looking to extend the lead. And he does it. 3 in a row for Stu, and that lead is now up to 23 as he looks to win his 2nd PBA Tour title.
Yeah, what a great shot that was. That was a great replay. I'm not sure. I guess that was real speed because it looked like it flew down the lane and destroyed the pins, but I think we're used to seeing the slow motion ones, but that was a fantastic camera angle and showing exactly how good Stu's ball motion is right now.
So Stu has delivered 2 pressure-packed strikes and put all the pressure on Andrew Anderson in the 8th frame.
I'll say this is Andrew's tricky lane.
And Andrew with a double gets that deficit back down to just 13 with 2 frames to go. And this is a critical 9th frame, foundation frame shot coming up for Anderson, as he will look to cut the deficit to 3 and put significant pressure on Stu Williams going into the final 2 frames.
Andrew, our potential player of the year this year against Stu Williams, the form bowler of this month. Big shot here for Andrew. He's throwing the last 3 great on this lane. Let's see what he does this time.
And there it is, high flush strike for Andrew Anderson, and he is pulled to within 3, but he does not control his own destiny. Stu Williams can step up and strike out in the 9th and 10th to win this title.
Yeah, Andrew not quite getting it to the same spot that he did the previous times on that left lane, but that's why he's creating that angle, he's creating that little bit of hold. And the ball went through the pins just about right. He also got that late 9 pin. Now Stu, like you say, has his own destiny in his hands. What you want when you're a bowler.
Here it is, Stu Williams, 9th frame. And Stu delivers another strike, 4 in a row for Beef Stu.
Great shot from Stu. Come off his hand just as he wanted. This follow through. Stu's always had a follow through that's a little bit different than other guys, but he's never hit up in a shot in his whole life. That's what I tell everybody. And he made sure he got it going to the right that time. I think that's what that abbreviated follow through did then. Got it going to the right, went through the pins, perfect. Now
Stu needs the first one and count to lock up the win.
Yep, strike 8 spare. Strike 9.
Little self-talk there for Stu Williams. Honestly, one of the biggest shots in the career of Stu Williams right here.
I like the deep breath. I think there's some, everyone knows that. Big deep breath. Good shot.
And Stu, high flush strike. And he knows he's on the cusp of winning the title. Just a little more work to do. And the significantly overdue Stu Williams will have his 2nd PBA title.
There's a great shot there from Stu. You see how much it revved up. He's come back. He's having a sip of water now. We can see from outside our booth. Andrew's sitting in his chair. Nothing he can do right now. Just wait and hope he gets a chance.
The best that Andrew Anderson can shoot is 236, and Stu Williams can shoot 249 if he strikes out. So Stu with
9's a winner.
9 is a winner here.
8 spare is also a winner. Anything less is still on. Big shot for Stu Williams. Can he win title number 2?
And Stu,
he did.
That's it. He's got it. He crosses over and leaves the single pin, but it's enough. Stu Williams wins his 2nd career PBA title and $30,000 here at the FloBowling PBA Tulsa Open.
I think that wasn't Stu's greatest shot that he's bowled, but I think he thoroughly deserves it. Been a long 7 years from his first title to his 2nd. Good friend of mine, works very hard at his game, does the right things. And today's his day, and he thoroughly deserves it. What a great performance from Stu Williams.
It's been 6 years since Stu Williams won his first title. It's been a long drought, and he was overdue for a title, and it comes here in Tulsa against Andrew Anderson in a great championship match live on FloBowling. As Stu put up some big numbers in this Stepladder finals, climbing the ladder all the way from the number 4 seed, winning every match all the way to winning the title.
Averaging 251 in this Stepladder.
Which is really incredible on these dual patterns. Bowling on 33 foot on the right lane, 39 feet on the left lane, and Stu Williams was just simply incredible today.
Too good for the field here today. What a packed Stepladder we had. Lots of action the whole way through. Almost a 300 from Stu.
That's right. Final score, 237 for Stu Williams, 215 for Andrew Anderson. And Stu Williams, look at the reaction. He is pumped up, and Tina And Brady back home couldn't be more proud as Stu grabs that title and secures the victory here in Tulsa.
Heartbreak the other night, leading the tournament by a ton, losing in that championship match. Now this little redemption today, we're running the Stepladder. How does it feel?
Pretty good. Yeah. I mean, the other night, I had that one really bad frame, and I went back and I was pretty bummed, and you just have to regroup. And to be honest, I felt worse last night when I went to bed after I bowled that horrific block that took me out of contention for this tournament. It felt like, but those last 3 games, yeah, it was just amazing. And then once we got to the TV pair, I had the same look, those 2 balls, and it just felt like it was my time. If I made good shots, I was probably going to win.
Yeah, the right lane seemed to be the real problematic lane for everybody in those matches. You had a couple issues with it late in that opening match. Then once again in game number 2, what did you do to smooth out the reaction the rest of the way?
Just threw it harder. I mean, a lot of the guys, it was kind of strange at the start of the tournament, the start of the round robin. A lot of the guys were using reactive balls, and when I bowled with them, it was much easier. And then last night, everybody who was further down the field was using urethane, and I mean, I was lost. I had no idea what I was supposed to do. And then today, the way the cross came out, it was less urethane and more of the reactive balls. And then, yeah, like I say, those last 3 games, I found something. And then once we got in this pair, I knew that with me and Kris bowling that first game, if one of us could get through, because we were both bowling reactive balls, and I knew the other 3 guys were all going to try and use urethane, that pretty much on those patterns, when you can get left and use the reactive balls, you got a huge advantage over the urethane balls.
Anybody you want to thank that helped you out with this victory?
Well, always I want to thank Storm and Rotor Grip, all the guys over at Turbo, Laurie and Dave, Bill Chrisman, Barbara Chrisman, Jim, Mike, Tim, Steve, and all of the BFFs over there. So, yeah, and then of course my wife and Brady at home watching. I love you guys, and maybe we can figure out coming home for the next couple of days.
Yeah, short turnaround to get to Wichita, and you had a couple of matches this week with implications to the Player of the Year race. If you can win at the U.S. Open, is that a backdoor Player of the Year chance for you?
Don't be silly. I mean, but I think the thing is me winning this match meant that I think I had a few fans over there. I think Jason and Tom Smallwood and Anthony and EJ, they were probably pretty much cheering for me because, I mean, Andrew's bowled so incredible all year, and if he could have got this victory, I guess that would have put him quite a bit ahead of those guys. But now, I mean, I think Andrew's still in control right now, but, the U.S. Open, the last major of the year tends to dictate a lot in the Player of the Year race.
And not just that, but the PBA works in conjunction with World Bowling Tour for the ranking points, and this, a big event in the World Bowling Tour, I think this might secure you into that top 3 for the roll-off in January.
Yeah, I mean, it's not quite that simple, but yeah, hopefully. I mean, another good performance next week. Technically, I actually won 2 weeks in a row because last time I lost to a girl, and that didn't affect the ranking points.
So there you are, your champion, Stu Williams. Title number 2 for Stu.
Thank you, Phil. Stuart, congratulations. Heck of a performance. Sarah Hoffman and Joe Sparks, come on down. Sarah, grab the big check. Double duty. Well, let's do the trophy first. Ladies and gentlemen, FloBowling and FloSports in general, they've been a wonderful partner as they've come on board with the PBA. It's my pleasure to introduce Sarah Hoffman of FloBowling, FloSports. Sarah?
Thanks, Kirk. What a phenomenal week, Stu. Hopefully your second title is as memorable for you as it was for us. Just a phenomenal, impressive stepladder, and congratulations.
And I'd like to personally thank you, Joe, for hosting us this week. It's been fantastic. You've done a wonderful job. Big round of applause for the Lanes at Coffee Creek. Joe and his staff, it's been fantastic. It's been 13 years since we've been here, and it just seems like yesterday. They just stepped right up for us, and we appreciate it. Joe?
Thank you very much. We'd like to first thank the PBA for coming back, and hope we had a great week on that. And we'd like to thank everybody that did come out this week. We hope Owasso showed up good and in Tulsa area. And we'd like to present this first place trophy to Tulsa Open to Stuart.